to another segment of AWS On Air live from Washington, D.C. We're at the 2023 AWS DC Summit. I'm Jeff Marushak. I am a senior solutions architect on our DoD Air Force team, and we're here to talk about auditing, and not only auditing, but hybrid environments. So let's introduce our guests. Could you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. This is Suchita Verma. I am one of the product managers for AWS CloudTrail.
Hello, my name is Isaiah Salinas. I'm a specialist solution architect, work on the cloud operation team, specialize in AWS CloudTrail 2 as well.
So yesterday, we had some sessions where we talked about data lakes, data warehouses, data swamps. Aaron's right over there. We talked about that earlier. And we've been today talking a lot about CloudWatch, and a lot of questions as an SA, field SA, talking to customers, we always get the question, what exactly is the difference between CloudWatch and CloudTrail?
Yeah.
And I always say CloudTrail is like, imagine the magnifying glass, the private investigator trying to see who did what in your account. But how would you explain what CloudTrail is? Let's start there.
I think it's pretty close where you're starting from. I think that's a very good idea. So I think the biggest differences would be the use cases. As you said, CloudTrail is more focused on audit and security and who did what and when, like very focused information on what's happening in AWS infrastructure from the point of view of an auditor or a security investigation. CloudWatch Logs is more of operational use case. What is going on in your application and things like that. And then similarly, like CloudTrail features and capabilities are also focused towards that. Immutability of these logs, retention of these logs, and making sure that whenever an activity happens, the logs are delivered to you so you can rely on this for your investigations.
Okay, so then let's talk about CloudTrail Lake. What does that add? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So CloudTrail Lake is an extension of CloudTrail. Before CloudTrail Lake came into being, CloudTrail would capture the information that is happening on AWS accounts, and it would deliver it to customers' S3 bucket, and then the customer will be owning the responsibility of managing the storage, the retention, and also figuring out how to analyze this data. CloudTrail Lake is a managed solution. It goes from capturing the audit logs to providing a SQL query on top of it to quickly analyze it when you need to know the information, and also manage the storage and retention for the customers.
Yeah, because normally when you think, oh, let's create a data lake, then you stop, hold on a second, we have to get the data stewards involved, we have to do all this, we have to configure all this information, all the infrastructure, but it being a managed service, specifically for CloudTrail, it seems like it's a pretty easy solution for doing exactly what you just mentioned.
Exactly, it's turnkey, it's easy to get started with, it comes with sample queries, and now with this launch, you can also start ingesting non-AWS sources. We launched this earlier this year, and I think that's what Isaiah is showing the capability with a particular source that has not been in CloudTrail.
Yeah, well, so let's go over, so as tech folks, I kind of inherently know how, like, the benefits of storing all these CloudTrail logs and Lake, but let's spell out what are the benefits of using CloudTrail Lake.
All right, so one is you can aggregate your audit logs from AWS across your organization, across multi-region, anything that is happening in AWS.
Which is a best practice, right? Because a lot of compliance frameworks call for a centralized logging account, because when an auditor needs to look at things, you don't want to give them access to all your accounts, but you can give them read-only access to your log.
Okay. That is the second advantage, because it's a managed solution. You can be 100% sure, almost 100% sure that your logs are immutable. Right? Nobody is coming in and editing those logs. These are tamper-proof.
Now, there is an option already in CloudTrail, not CloudTrail Lake, to make your logs immutable, but that's only the retention part, not after it gets stored in the S3, or can you?
Yeah, so that feature is specifically called log file validation, and it is used for trails. So what it does is, with CloudTrail Trails, you capture the activity and you put it in your S3 bucket that you manage. And if this feature or capability is enabled, we would also send a hash file. So if somebody comes in and tampers with the log in your S3 bucket, you can programmatically figure out that something has changed.
Check it against the hash. Okay, gotcha. Okay. So then how does that feature work differently in CloudTrail Lake?
In Lake, because it's a managed solution, the storage is managed. There is the customers or the users only have read-only access into this data. They cannot go in and change it.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah?
So are we limited to just kind of Linux-related logs, or what? Expand our horizons.
Yeah.
Kind of give us some examples of what we could use
Yeah.
and throw in the CloudTrail Lake.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're not limited to Linux. That's the first answer to the question. Any activity log that you have where you want, where the application is telling who does what and when the action took place can be pushed into CloudTrail Lake now. All you have to do is it needs to follow the schema that CloudTrail Lake is providing, which is similar to a CloudTrail event.
Okay.
And then you can send it over, and then you can do an analysis. So let's say you want to see what a user did in AWS, what they did in a third-party application. We have some partners that are onboarded with us. Or what did they do in their OS system? Now you can link the story together. Right, this person logged in over here, he did this, and then they went into an AWS service, they created this resource, and then they went into this application and they did something. So you can see what happened across different environments, not just within AWS.
So for our viewers that have been watching all day, we've talked a lot about CloudWatch logs, and I know that you need to have an agent installed to get your application level logs in the CloudWatch. But can you glue this all together with CloudTrail logs and what you were just talking about? Is it sort of the same thing to grab those application logs?
So different solutions for different problems.
Fair.
In most of the cases, if it's an application, right, which can call AWS service APIs, there is a new API which we call put audit events API. You just need to be able to call that, and you can push the logs in. Now, we have some partners that are already onboarded to CloudTrail Lake. If that is the case, they have actually done the work for doing the transformation of the schema and putting all the resources to call this API on your behalf. So for that, you can just go to the console and turn it on for them, and they will start working on your behalf to push the logs in. And the SSM agent one is what Isaiah will talk about, where we are looking at a particular problem where we want to bring the OS level logs, which SSM agent is actually collecting, and then pushing it to CloudTrail Lake.
Yeah, all right, so Isaiah, let's see what we have going here.
So as Sushita was mentioning, one of the use cases you can do is you can actually utilize the Systems Manager agent to actually do that put audit API call. And so we have a custom solution that we have out available that you can utilize. And so I'm going to go through what this will actually do. So I'm logged into one of my instances in here. And let's say, for example, I need to push out my security logs over to CloudTrail Lake. And so it's going to track all my sudo commands. So if I do sudo ls, sudo tail, var, log, secure, it's going to track all that. So what that's doing now is it's tracking that in a secure log, and now we have an automation runbook that is running to go ahead and take that information and push that into CloudTrail Lake. So if I go to my CloudTrail Lake, I already have an event data store already defined to ingest non-AWS events already. So I have a sample query here that's basically going to query that event data store, which is this one here. And so it's basically going to take all that information that's being pushed from the OS into CloudTrail Lake. So let me go ahead and run this query. So it returns the instance ID and the actual information within the actual secure log. So this is running continuously within at certain intervals within the actual operating system. Now, what we can do is, as Sushita mentioned, is basically tie the whole story together. So now we got
did we see the sudo commands down here somewhere that you just put in? Because I see EC2 user, so
they should be.
I think you have.
Yeah, they're in this command alias here.
Okay, cool,
yeah.
Awesome.
So, and this is where you can actually leverage the power of the SQL syntax for CloudTrail Lake to further customize your query to actually get down to the specific information you want to look into the logs.
And for example, we see that line, it was a putty session, so you could probably then do another another query for give me all the PuTTY sessions
Exactly.
and see everyone who exactly what they typed. And
Exactly.
everything. Okay,
So
gotcha.
you can build out pretty powerful queries that could actually get the data really granular, what you want to actually see. So what this second query is doing is basically I got the instance ID from this query and all the information that's being done with that instance. Now I want to see what actually took place, who actually did it. And so this other query is basically going to run against the actual event data store that I have for specific CloudTrail related management events. And so what I'm doing here is I'm actually looking for any events related to that instance.
Okay.
So if I run this here, it's then going to return to me the actual user identity. So I got the IAM information here. And then I got the actual events that were triggered, such as start session, get connection status, and the instances that it was targeting. So it helped me complete the story because someone actually did something within my instance, but I want to know which IAM entity actually took that action. And so this is where that query will actually combine it together and give you that overall picture.
Yeah, I could see where this would be valuable in like a post, like incident research where this one instance has had problems. Let's quarantine it, and okay, everything's safe now. Let's go ahead and do some queries to see what all happened exactly with that instance, et cetera, et cetera.
Or you can go further down and you can see what happened with the user that created that instance,
Yeah.
right? What
Who
else
did
what else did he do?
Yes.
Or
Okay.
did
So
she do?
all right, we found the user. Let's make a new query for everything that
Exactly.
user did
Yeah.
between these times. Okay.
Exactly.
Perfect,
So you can go deeper and deeper to exactly find out what's happening.
yeah. When was the last time that user's password changed?
Yeah.
Because is that when it was compromised, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting. Awesome. Yeah. So how would you say let's create a data lake? We've talked about how this is a managed service specifically for CloudTrail. How do you go about telling customers to get started with this? Because we all know it's a good idea. We've talked about all the good reasons why you would want to do this, but it is a little daunting to say, oh, we're gonna move. How hard is it to get started with CloudTrail Lake, and what do you tell folks that are starting to look into it?
I would say it's pretty easy. Like maybe if we have time, we can look at the demo. But specifically, if you're looking for AWS activities, start there. It'll take you 5 minutes to create an EDS, and very quickly you can see the data coming in.
Well,
right?
and that's why I asked you that, because I had a feeling it was rather easy, but that's the cool thing. This is a managed service, and usually with a managed service, it's generally pretty easy to get started. So awesome.
Yeah. So we can either do it here, but it's just, if you know CloudTrail, it's very similar.
Yeah.
You would know what to do.
And we see here we can choose our retention period.
You can choose your retention period, and you don't have to worry about it. We have 7 years by default over here. It is immutable. It'll stay over here, and you don't have to worry about retention policies. You don't have to worry about the cost of storage and anything. You can choose your events. You can choose what you want to send into this EDS. Over here, we are saying, you can choose management event, data event. You can even copy your existing CloudTrail logs that are sitting in your S3 bucket and bring it in if historical investigation is something that you're trying to do. And you click next, and that's it. It'll take some time to create the event data store. Everything would be up and ready. You see creation in progress. And then once it's there, you can start running queries on it.
That's great.
Yeah, one thing that we didn't touch upon is also we have config items, AWS config items in there. So that's another added context that you can analyze your event data on.
Yeah, so for instance, we were looking at that one EC2 instance. We can see when it was last changed, when the configuration was. So when it changed security groups that allowed SSH, so someone could PuTTY into it or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on. We've been learning a lot about CloudWatch and now finally CloudTrail. So really excited to hear about the managed service CloudTrail Lake, and thank you for sharing everything.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, everyone, we'll be back in a few minutes with our next segment. But again, I'm Jeff Marushak from AWS, and we are live here in Washington, D.C. for the AWS 2023 DC Summit.